Hello and welcome to another installation of TechTalk. Yes, it's Friday and we've got another not so special guest anymore because you were special last week or the week before. Oh, no, I'm joking. Very special guest, Jake. So glad to have you back. Mikey, why don't you tell us why he's back? Why is he back a second time?
Well, you pulled the name out of the hat, mate. So that'll bring you, put the genie out of the bottle, mate. You bring him back.
Three wishes.
If you say premium polished concrete, premium polished concrete, premium polished concrete, you say it 3 times, then Jake will appear. It's like Beetlejuice.
And if you say unleaded, you just get some Gumtree dude. Only the premium.
So anyway, Jake is back. We're going to be talking all things live stream from the last live stream, which is all about donuts, not the Homer Simpson kind. Josh, I think you finished all the donuts during the live stream. So yeah, discussing live stream donuts. Jake's back for a second go, and also, yeah, that's it, guys. Sorry. Yeah. So,
okay. Anyone would have thought you haven't warmed up this morning, Mike?
Kind of threw me when danced on my line from the previous intro. Is that why we're starting from the top, or what? Like, is that how we roll now? Or?
Welcome back, Jake. So nice to see you again.
Welcome back, mate.
I don't know how you circumvented the system to get redrawn out of the same hat, but it is nice to have you back.
Got to be in it to win it.
Yeah, you got to be in it, what, twice? 3 times? How many times were you in it, Jake, to win it?
Pretty sure I asked the most questions, so probably just, laws of probability, you're going to end up winning.
For the first one, I was there for the drawing, and yeah, absolutely, all the names were in there. It was pure luck of the draw.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Well, obviously,
Glad to be here.
We had a very exciting live stream the other week. We're talking about creating donuts, pushing donuts, and being productive, opening up that floor and going deep. So, Joshy, do you want to give us a bit of a rundown what we did at the live stream and what we were kind of trying to show people, getting exposure, full exposure in the one pass?
Yeah, look, to be honest with you, I didn't really know what we were doing because we didn't have Kurt. And so we just thought we'd switch the machine on and see what happened when it's, basically almost unmanned. No, it's not true. So last week we were talking about pushing the donut, grinding deep. There's a lot of people out there who still are confused. We say that you can do full exposure in one pass, and that's always going to be our aim. And part of the reason why we want that to be our aim is because in that single pass, we're working with the 3 layers of materials, and we know the different effects that each of those layers has on the performance of the diamond tool. So understanding that, we then go, okay, what's the best way for us to be able to use the best layer to help that tool cut well and give us the best result all the way through into the deep layer, into the deep cut, that final lower layer, the aggregate bed. So that's the idea behind pushing the donut and utilizing the best materials and getting the maximum productivity out of your time. And then, of course, we leave it up to Kurt to come back and return from his adventures and fix up the mess.
I just really want to say thanks for having me back. I know that it was a twist to get me back on board, but I appreciate you accepting me back in the group again. It's an honour.
Well, it's a mystery.
Welcome back.
Welcome back, Kurt, but it's a mystery. You left us last week.
Look, I wouldn't say I left you, Josh. I would never leave you.
Where were you last week?
For you guys out there who don't know where I was.
Fonda. There you go.
I rock up, or Kurt, me, I was out there doing a certificate 4 in training and assessment. So we're really investing into this side of the industry to benefit you guys out there on getting some more tidy systems and processes in place moving forward in the industry. So we're investing into it and we're going to give it back to you guys. So that's where I was. Daniel, I thank you for saying that I've just got a new puppy. Yes, I have got a new puppy, but I was not training my puppy at the time. I went back to school. So thanks, guys. Good to be back.
You gave birth to one.
I gave birth to a puppy. Awkward, but
men can't give birth to puppies. Don't you know that? Yeah.
Good stuff. I've been talking to a few customers recently, and always awesome feedback. You can tell not only have, the people that have caught up with Rock Up Group, have they learned a bit, but you can just sort of see it in them that they're up and about, they're ready to go. It's really, really good. And always important to mention, I think we talk about, for you guys starting out and things like that, I mean, I'm talking about people that are experienced and been in the industry for a while and people that are starting out as well, but sort of a real mixed bag of people that just get a lot out of it. So yeah, it's really good feedback for you, mate.
Yeah, awesome, man. Thank you. It's good to hear that.
Yeah, that was definitely... Sorry, you go.
You go, Milan.
I said I was going to go into the questions.
Oh, I was actually going to reaffirm the value of the training that Rock Up does, because even our guest speaker today has done a bit of time with Rock Up. Jake, tell us about that time.
Just a few thousand square meters.
So, hang on. Jake, you've actually done a bit of time with Rock Up, so you'll be able to actually weigh in a bit on these claims.
18 months or something since we first made contact.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
That's right. And what has it? It's taken you 18 months?
No, it's just been 18 months of easy sailing.
That's good.
What happened? Why did you decide to reach out? Like, what is the decision?
So throughout my career previously was being employed and learning, being shown how other people run. And what I found I actually learned was how not to do things. Not having control over the process used to annoy me so much, just being told to do this, you're only allowed to use this. And then when I went solo, I had the freedom to choose what I wanted, and I wanted to use the best. I wanted to be as quick as I can, spend less time on site. Instead of doing six days a week, if I can do it in 4 days a week, then that's a lot cruisier. Get a better work-life balance and everything, just make life better.
So does that mean you're just doing grind and seals now?
No. For that bread and butter, I'll leave grind and seals in the gutter.
Very good, I like it. Is that going to be like a rap later on?
Maybe. Depends if you can drop a good beat.
You got to ask Liam that, but can't beat my rap from last week.
Yeah,
the bar is very high.
Wow.
That's not it, man.
Wow, yeah, okay.
There you go. The challenge is there, Jake. Challenge is there, mate.
I'll go grab a pen and paper. Maybe even just like one of those sticky tab things that won't need much. What do you have, 3 lines?
Ooh!
3 bars.
But I was talking.
All right, break it up. That's enough, you two.
I was talking about roasting you, but you can roast me back. That's all right.
Yeah.
Let's get into the nitty gritty of it.
Nitty gritty donut pushing.
Yeah.
So,
the abrasive side of things.
Yeah. We last week, we were pushing the donut, and Kurt and Josh, we always talk about reading the floor. What is the floor telling us? But we took it up a notch last week, and we actually opened up the cabinet, and we were letting the machine tell us what it was doing. And we got into the amperage and what kind of the right or the sweet spot is to run that 820 big block machine is at. So this question actually came from Jake yourself. So Jake wanted to know, what does max amp on a stock block compare to the amp pool on the big block? Who's going to put their hand up? I reckon Josh. This is okay. You.
All right, so I call them small blocks and big blocks, stock blocks, big blocks, whatever.
You going to get a medium block, or?
I don't think there is no such thing as a medium block. I don't think there needs to be a medium block.
All right, calm down.
Just go big or go home. Small blocks, 680s and 820s, they're happy to run at around about 22 to 23 amps all day long. They can hit that limiter all day and be quite happy. Once you start getting above that 23 amps, that's when they start going into over temperature or over current. And the great difference with the big block, being the bigger motor, allows us to go up to 27 amps all day long. You can keep on knocking on that door of 28 every now and then. You can't keep it cruising on 28, but it'll cruise all day long on 27 amps. So if you've got a machine that's heavier and is pulling more current, and it's it's got the bigger horsepower, which is pulling that extra current, then you're being more productive on site, and we know what that stuff means.
Yeah,
more dollars per hour.
Yeah,
so it's one way to look at it, Jake.
Once you go big block, you just up your day rate as well. you get more done.
What are your
Sure,
tricks of the
productivity.
trade when it comes to the big block and donuts, Jake? What are your thoughts?
When I bought my first 680, I bought it off Gumtree, actually. There you go. Sight unseen, knowing it was broken. It's an old King's concept. Bought it and freighted it straight to Works. And motor was bent. The shaft was bent. Hayden said I'd never polish with it. So I was like, put a big block on it. And he did it. And yeah, never looked back. So I found that with the stock blocks, when they really got under load, pre-tripping, once they got under load, they would rev up harder to try and get themselves out of a donut. And then you can sometimes lose control. The heads might bog down and throw the chassis, or they might just not do it. And they, instead of sitting in that cut, they start to like ramp up and start going back on top. They don't like to keep pushing forward. But with the big block, I've never had it bind up once, just sinking it in the floor. Kurt showed me how to do it. Kurt showed me how to sink it in the floor and really read what it's doing and keep pushing forward, just like Josh said, with those different layers of the concrete mix, getting the abrasive aspects of the smalls and the sands, keeping the diamond metal sharp, wearing away the metal at the correct rate due to the magnificent alloys in the rocks arsenal. Yeah, just sinking it down, pushing forward, and then once you know how to operate the machine for that finish, you then go into how to do it more efficiently. So quicker and cheaper in the sense of tool usage. I mean, tool selection. So faster being your ability to read the floor and read your scratch pattern and make sure you're consistent. You're not making ridges. You're not making valleys, trenches. You can read if you've got a low spot or a high spot by reading that scratch pattern and any non-consistent arcs. And then as far as efficiency goes, time-wise, selecting the correct bond strength just means that you getting the most out of your tool. So I found when I went the big block, I had to up bond strength. The majority of what I use are mediums to hard bonds on my 30 grits. I do have the very hards and the super hards, and they go forever. I did about, I think in total, I've done about 370 meters with the super hards, and I've only used about 3 millimeters of the segment, which is just crazy. I'll get over well over 1,000 meters out of a set.
You're still getting that result that you're chasing.
Yeah, when
as well.
when it's a suitable slab, like you don't chuck them on a regular slab, like rain damaged slab, or where the concreter just doesn't care or doesn't know, and they've left you with an uncompacted slurry on top, where you've got to really dig in to see your stone, or maybe there's a lot of damage. That'll be faster to cut that damage out rather than repair it. You know, I've come across jobs where I had damage the size of golf balls from the steel work getting put up, and they just must have dropped it, anchored it, whatever, just all over the floor. It was 150 meters and it was just everywhere. So I rang Kurt and like, what do you reckon the best way? Like, I spoke to a supplier about like repairing compounds. The Works one is magnificent. The what do you call it? Total repair or something?
Repair?
Probably.
Yep. Repair.
It's great, but as far as bulk surface area, I wasn't going to get on my hands and knees and screed and fill that damage, given how much there was. So I wanted to go for more of a liquid route. Kurt said that your probably best bet is to grind the damage out and then fill where needs to be filled and grind the excess off. So it was a case of sinking the machine, very hard, 30s, grinding about 5-6 mil off, and then most of the damage was gone. But then there were still some of those golf ball size ones. Got them filled. Kurt helped me set up the procedure for that, being that it was such a soft slab. Getting dents in the floor early was very important. And yeah, did a sample, client was happy, did the rest of the house, and then the house next door as well, same slab.
Gold.
The second house done probably 30% quicker as well once I had the procedure down pat.
I think when we're talking about donuts and that live stream, that unfortunately I was not there for it, but one thing that I really like to talk about when we're talking at the first cut and we're setting all that process up from the beginning, is a bit of patience is required. All right, so it's not slap on the diamonds, turn the machine on and start trying to get full stone exposure in the first pass. Yes, that's what we're saying, but it takes time to get that machine dialed into where you need it to be. And it does take patience and just that initial first, 15 minutes of setting everything up right to start moving through it. All right, so it's you can miss that step by just cranking that forward speed too quickly. And then you might be creating, then this isn't the right tool to be using because your actual forward speed's going too quickly. If we're talking about a Husqvarna machine here, and we're talking about having a planetary driven machine where we can actually lower the planetary and speed the discs up and all that jazz, it might be just a simple case of being patient, dial it in first, then move through at the right pace. So yeah, I just wanted to make that a point there. It's just not turn on and get going and rely so much on the tooling. Yes, we rely on the tooling, but yes, we rely on the operator and the machinery that we're using.
Yeah. And also, I guess coming back to a little bit to the live stream from last week with donuts, Joshy drew a really nice chart with the three main different layers of, roughly how normally what it looks like and the layer where we need to be sitting in and able to be productive. The biggest issues are obviously surface texture, diamond tooling choice, and heat. Also, downward pressure, I think, is an important one as well. How can we best control that? Obviously, we're talking about cut six, we're talking about water, we're talking about all these different things to implement into the process to be more productive. You touched on a really good point in the live stream, Josh, about the water and how much water to put into the slab to get the best performance out of the tool. Do you want to sort of get a little bit back into that as well? And then I have a follow-up question as well from what we get asked quite often.
So the question was about the water.
I like this one. This is a good one because I believe there's a fine line in putting water on the floor and putting water in the floor.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So quite often we see, get a telephone call from someone, a Mayday call, can't cut this. Okay, let's just do a quick video call and show me what you're working with. I've asked them, are they putting water on the floor? Yep, we're wetting the floor. Let's do a quick video call and see what you've got. And we get the video call happening and they're sprinkling water almost in front of the machine. If those tools are running at 200 degrees, a little sprinkle of water is not going to do anything on the floor to cool those things down. So when it comes to keeping the temperature down, we want to do everything that we can to keep the temperature down. My preference is always going to be to grind dry. So I don't want to be creating slurry. Now, if we flood the floor, we've got lots of water on the floor, then we run obviously we're going to create slurry, and I don't want to go that route either. So my preference is to heavily douse the floor with water to the point of rejection, and then I want the concrete to suck it all in. So we can leave that on there for the longer the better, but at least 20 minutes. And if there's puddles on there, you can sweep them or squeegee them off the slab then. But let that water sit on there, let the concrete soak it up. All of the water then penetrates deeply into the concrete. When we start grinding, we start creating a lot of temperature in the tools again, which generates a lot of, obviously a lot of temperature on the surface. What happens when we do that is it starts to draw the water up to the surface because of the heat. And because the water is being drawn up all the time, it just continues to keep those tools cooled down, keep the temperatures under control. And it's consistent as well. The more heat that you create or transmit, the more water that it draws out of the slab. So when it's needed, it pulls up more. So this helps us to balance the temperature out and keep our operating speed very consistent. So that's why we like to do that.
I think a good habit to get into when you're going on these sites and establishing your unloading equipment, before you do all that, get the water hose out or the pump sprayer or the e-sprayer and just saturate that floor till rejection. And while you're unloading, by the time you get back on that slab, it's had enough time to soak in and you're good to go. So
that's it.
What would you say about if you had a really tight burnish floor, but you were going to be going for exposure? Because I've found that when you put water on those things, because it's almost mechanically sealed, that it sits on top and doesn't really penetrate. How would you go about that? Would you try and open it up or just go with a more aggressive, like zigzag?
Look, probably a fast way is to do a walkover pass, like a scratch pass with a 50 grit metal.
Yeah.
Okay, because as we know that the smaller the particle, the sharper it is. So it's actually going to be able to do a walkover pass quite effectively with a 50 grit, and that'll just create an entry point for the water, then douse it.
Well, I just reckon you've just gone over that floor a whole lot of time. I would have just went to the van and pulled out a drum and cut stick and chucked it down, and Bob's your uncle.
Kurt, you're a man of efficiency.
That's interesting you say that, Kurt, because the next question we had, actually, Dan, you had a question that you wanted to ask before we proceed.
there's just one follow-up question, and I don't know if you guys been asked this before, but I'm doing my first cut, or maybe let's say first cut. Should I be turning my vacuum down to help the dust for my tools to cut?
No.
No, we never.
I've been around that before.
You'd be in a better position if you had a really tight seal on the floor and lifted the skirt a little bit at the front and cranked the dust extractor right up, because then you'll actually get the efficiency of the cooling as the draft is pulled through the front. So I would certainly not switch off, reduce the airflow. If anything, I would be increasing it.
Yeah,
I agree.
And we're getting the abrasion from the concrete. Remember, from that second layer there. So I wouldn't be letting that dust hang around in order to cut with it.
What you'd be getting like air cooling by opening the skirt and allowing the airflow and drawing that dust out, which has now become hot. Whereas if you're allowing dust to sit there, it's going to heat up, and you've just got this extra material binding up your heat dissipation from the rock segment, which is completely designed to dissipate heat better.
Yeah, it's designed to clear that dust out and keep the temperature down. So, yeah.
So one question I've always had, actually, don't know about the customers. I was actually wondering, I do hear from some people, I use the cut stick, but geez, it makes a mess. What sort of consistency should that leftover product after you've used the cut stick, should that be almost vacuumable? Like, should that be like your balls that you get went out the back when you're grouting and things like that? Like, should it be not a wet but not a dry material? But what?
I personally like to use the same type of technique as when you're applying your grout down. When you pre-wet the floor and you put your grout down and you broom it out into a nice consistency, so the machine's running through the same material and texture all the time. If you apply that same principle to the cut stick, and you look at, say, for a scenario we're working on 100 to 200 meters, okay? So I would get down at least 50 to 100 meters at the start of the shift, all in the same consistency, all right? All broomed out nice and evenly, and now that's going to set and that's going to dry over time, but it just needs a little sprinkle of water to reactivate it. So you're still running through the same material. Now, that with the appropriate vacuum, with the right, skirt set up, all that jazz, you'll be removing that material just the same way as you would be a first cut. So I would say if you've got quite a mess using cut stick, I'd have a look at the application on how you're putting it down.
Yeah, there are definitely cleaner ways of applying it than using a tennis racket.
Yeah, it doesn't work. Or the
and
ping pong
that's what it is. But I think that some of these, as you say, just all those things combined into one still creates a material that can be, vacuumed up and still not make a mess. So I think that's sort
by
of
the time it's
important,
used.
not only to broom the material out and get it so it's going to be thick and fast and thick and heavy and all that sort of thing. You want to have it out so it's going to work for you and work well.
You just want to put essentially just put a layer of sandpaper over that floor.
Yep.
And it's probably going to take you an extra 15 to 20 minutes to get it to that level, but you will pick that up when you start running the machine through it.
Absolutely.
You'll pick up that time. If you just spend the time to set it up right, just like when you're grouting, you don't want to be going through puddles and pools. You want to go through the same material, same way with cut stick, you shouldn't have a problem.
Yeah.
And basically, if you're going into it and you see it coming up your skirt, it's generally indication that you put too much down. So you need to thin it out, and a little bit goes a long way.
Yeah.
Exactly right, Milan. I think that's where a lot of people have a little bit of an issue, but it's good.
The first time I used cut stick, and I'd never been shown how to use it, I was essentially just pouring it out and brooming it. And then once I did some stuff with rock up, and Kurt was like, no, you flood the floor, saturate it with that, so you're not just drawing all the moisture out of the cut stick and just leaving the abrasive medium all over it. You actually saturate the floor and get it to like pull in that cutting compound, and then you just reactivate it just like you grout. And it's so much easier. It runs out smoother and more consistent. It just makes everything better.
You could also watch the tutorial on how to use it.
You got one on YouTube now, but I think I bought it before that.
Yeah.
Well, that leads us into the next question.
Yeah.
From the live stream. So the question was about cut stick, and when can you use this product? Is there any limitations on when not to use it?
Yeah, there absolutely is. I mean, it's really for your lower end cuts. So you're either with your 30 grits or even 16 grits if you want, but also with the 50 grits if you like. There's two different types of cutzik as well. So you've got the regular cutzik, which we typically use for grinding, for polishing, but there's also cutzik aggro, and cutzik aggro is really for that you use. That's right, Kurt. It's cutzik aggro is something that you use for taking off thick adhesives and that sort of stuff. It's a little bit more aggressive, but when we're grinding the floor to polish it, we just use the cutzik regular, and that's you won't use that with your grout. With your GRTs, that's not the time to be using it.
Yeah.
With the aggressive one, is that like a larger abrasive material in it, or has it got extra things to deal with the adhesives and stuff you're removing? If I was doing, say, a leveling job that they were going to tile, would I still be getting? Would I get better advantages using the more aggressive one?
Yeah, you would. Yeah, because if you were trying to remove heavy coatings faster, you'd typically be using like a 16 grit or a 0 grit, something more aggressive, and using the aggro helps those to cut more efficiently than what the
so
regular.
They don't like dull over and curl over and just
you got it.
not be sharp.
Yep.
I've got one last one as well, guys. Obviously, in the last live stream, we jumped from medium 30 doubles under our big block 820, and then gone and did a side by side with medium 30 singles. So we basically ran 2 runs. And Josh, do you want to run us down on what we saw, material removal versus doubles versus singles, same tool? Was it same forward speed? Or what kind of things did we see in performance?
Yep. So you're asking me what happens when we half the tooling, double the pressure.
Double the pressure.
Double the pressure. Half the tooling, double the pressure. Basically, what we saw was that we increased our forward moving speed increased more than double. So we were removing material more than twice as fast. So that's what we expect to see. If we increase the pressure on the tool, it's going to push that diamond particle into the floor harder, and the effect is going to be that you remove more material per RPM.
That's it. So what we ended up seeing, we did roughly a 10-minute run with doubles, and we did a 5-minute run with singles, and we actually had also more removal. We had actually more dust in the bag on the shorter run. Actually, when I say shorter as in time, but same amount of run with singles, which was quite impressive. Just one last thing for Josh and Jake, Kurt and Jake, because we were talking about this in the live stream about a lot of guys using doubles versus people who like singles. Like Josh loves singles. He's not a single man, but loves his single diamonds. What is your preference, Kurt and Jake, in diamond tooling choice? Would you go always for singles, or would you always jump on a double?
I would say it would depend for me on the project that I'm on. I know that if I'm in a commercial environment, like a large open space, I'm looking at pace, speed. So I know if I start out with the right single diamond and I'm creating that wicked profile that I'm always on about, I know that my next tour, my 50s, 60s after that, is really going to up speed as well, moving into that single profile rather than a double profile. It's for me, it's just each project's different. When we're dealing with concrete that's been placed for polished concrete, 32 MPa, you'll probably find that a medium twin is going to be fine and run at a nice pace. So it's always whatever the material is that I'm working with. But if I had a preference because of pace and profile, texture, all that, it would be a single.
Yeah. Well, I would say same thing. It depends on what kind of surface area and your time frame is. If you've got a big surface that you've got to get cut so you can start doing everything, then you'd be going for a single. But generally, with doing domestic stuff, it's not as much big long runs. It might be an L shape or a U shape, or you might have to go around something, and you can't run the risk of sitting somewhere for anywhere longer than possible and getting that inconsistency in your cut. So I mostly use the double mediums and don't have any issues, especially with the big block. Yeah, I'm always getting the full exposure. But yeah, if you're doing big long runs or you're under particular time restraints, then going singles will be quicker. But yeah.
And then you could also play around with combinations as well. If you're looking for that happy medium, if you're looking for that single to really keep in the cut, and to create that nice profile, and then reduce the wear a bit with the double. There's some things to play around with as well, but I'm sure we could go deep into that another time.
Won't the single segment wear out before the double segment though?
No.
Well, I think that's great, boys.
That's it for the live stream questions. So
Awesome.
Beautiful.
it's always good to catch up, and we
Well,
might
look,
have.
I just don't know how why we have these little short chats. I wish they could go longer.
I can hear a wrap up. I can hear a wrap up somewhere. Can you hear something?
Somebody is ready to wrap.
Wow.
See what we got here.
Remember, this is on camera, and you will be held for
Yeah.
this.
Be
So
responsible.
And we are
Do the
recording.
industry something good. Put this Daniel to shame.
Do you need
That
somebody
was
to
good.
count you in?
No,
Tell us what you
I
need.
need the huff.
Oh yeah, there we go.
he's going all out.
So you got to call me the notorious PPC,
Yep.
and you got to drop a juicy beat.
Go, Dan. Drop the beat.
No, don't do it, Dan.
All right.
Leave it to the professionals. So we're going. It was all a dream, rocking up with polish and royalty, salt and pepper to full exposure in any sheen. King's concept on the floor, deep block torque, one pass couldn't expose more. Dual drive rocks till the floor pops, maximize abrasion, hit up Mikey to stop. Way back when I had the single phase hack attack with the amp to match. Remember Chinese tools didn't reach the bar. Never thought the Bayside could take it this far. Now I'm in the limelight cause my floor is tight. Invoiced and paid, no more Alibaba trade. Floor ripper, opposite of a winner. Remember when I used to add weight for down pressure? Peace to Rock Up G, thanks to the works team. Instagram flex, watching on the live stream. I've blown up like I knew I would. Call up works, same number, same hood. It's all good. If you don't know, now you know. Jump trail.
All right.
Excellent.
Oh, nice one. Nice one.
Go
Oh,
on,
nice
Smoko,
one,
so
Jake.
be gentle.
impressive.
Wow. Another hidden talent in the man.
Good
That's
work,
awesome.
guys.
Premium.
Hey,
Very good.
that was killer, man. I like it. But
Got a bunch of one-liners too, but maybe that's for another time.
What do you got, Dan? If it looks like you're on edge there, man,
Like,
you want
I
to
feel
battle.
played it right.
Am
One
I-
of those rhyming
I-
dictionaries. What rhymes with Dan?
Am I
I think
sensitive
Daniel
battle?
wants to throw down.
Dan.
Plan Dan.
Dan.
I'm just living out my dream in San Fran because you're in San Francisco.
Ah, so you got the
Dan Fran.
He's
My
got-
name is Dan. You're my biggest fan.
Mm-hmm.
That was good.
I like to drink occasionally a can.
And Dan.
Back to the
Yeah, I think
drawing
Jake
book for
wins.
you, Dan.
I think Jake wins.
Yeah,
week.
we should probably stop
Leave it in the
there.
comments.
Yeah.
Like and subscribe.
A new rap next week. Come straight to.
Yeah,
I'll go
TechTalk.
for you, Dan.
that's right. Whoever's name we draw out of the hat for next week's Tech Talk, hey, you better come with a rap.
Wrap up. So we'll leave it here. Thanks, guys. Been fun again to have you back on Tech Talk, Jake. Muchly appreciated. Keep pushing for the next best, man. And yeah, always great to see you commenting and keeping it fun.
Yeah.
Looking forward to see some more stuff coming out.
Someone's got to bring the banter.
That's it. That's it.
Thanks very much, guys. Have a great
Righto,
weekend.
guys.
Good
and-
stuff, everyone.
Yeah,
Hooroo.
absolutely.
Farouk, ciao.
It was all a dream, rocking up with polish and royalty, salt and pepper to full exposure in any sheen. King's concept on the floor, deep block torque, one pass couldn't expose more.